Morning, welcome. I'll just share my screen. There we go. We'll get that up. Welcome, attendees. There we go. I'll just wait a couple more minutes for people to get logged in before we get started. Thanks for joining us. If you want to say hi in the chat box, please do. Let's get that up as well. Typing in the chat box, people say hi, introduce yourselves. It's nice to know that there's human beings on the other end while delivering these kind of webinars. The time. Hi, good morning, Catherine. Thanks for being brave. Everyone gets quite shy on these webinars, so I always appreciate it. If you have questions and comments, to drop things in there. Catherine, do you want to let us know what kind of business you're in, or what kind of course you might be thinking about creating? And then that can help me to tailor the session and the examples that I'm using. I'm going to make sure that my phone is on silent, and if you are following along at home, I suggest you do the same. It's going to be very interactive today. My phone says 10:57, so just give another couple of minutes. I'll check if there's more people joined. Oh, fabulous. I want to sort my customers. Fabulous. Oh, Catherine, I love that. Catherine's telling me she's going to sell patchwork patterns online, and she wants to support her customers with how-to videos. Awesome. I'm going to pop a little post-it on my screen to think how I can relate today's content to that. But anyone else who's joining, say hi, let me know what kind of business you're in or what kind of courses you might want to focus on, because we're going to be getting you thinking about your plans and how you're going to adapt it for you. All right, so patchwork patterns online. That's awesome. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out of today. So, you know, if you are sitting quietly thinking, I don't want to talk, then it means that I can't give you examples that will be more relevant to you. So please do, oops, say hi, pop any questions in, all of that. We have someone else in the room as well. So like I said, feel free to say hi, tell us what you're up to, what kind of business you're in, or what kind of course you're thinking of creating. And I'm going to be popping them around my screen behind me so I can tailor what we're talking about to examples that work for you. Good morning, welcome, welcome. Don't be shy in the chat box. Feel free to say hello, pop your name. You can change it to all attendees and panelists, I think. You should be able to do that. So if you want to make a comment that everyone can see, you can do that, and then we can get a bit of chat going. You might even be in similar kind of work, and then you can help each other out with that. You might even decide after the end of today that you want to be accountability buddies, which would be an awesome outcome. So you could walk away from today with a plan, plus a friend who's trying to achieve the same thing. So you could keep each other honest, because that's probably one of the biggest obstacles after you've got a plan, is to actually deliver it. Just keep an eye on the time. All right, my clock says 11 o'clock. So I'm going to make a start. So they'll cut all that, hopefully. And I'm just gonna welcome. So feel free at any point to pop things in the chat box and I will try and tailor things to you. Oh, awesome, thank you. That's come up. So I've got Andrea from Horsham, an events manager who loves connecting people in our community through virtual events. Andrea, that's beautiful. And Donna, a bookkeeper in CQ with a product called Adulting Life Organizer. Oh my gosh, I think a lot of us could do with an Adulting Life Organizer. I don't even know what it is, but you know, some days adulting is hard. All right, welcome everyone. I'll try and keep the chat box so I can see when things pop in. If you haven't already, feel free to pop some comments in. So today is really practical. I'm going to be just walking you through making your own online course in your topics that you're an expert in. So do have a pen and paper handy. As I'm going through, I'll try and give you a few minutes to pause, make notes, pop down your genius. As I've mentioned already, if you haven't got your phone off, on silent, away, please do that now. You've taken the time to invest in yourself, to give 100% here because you want to walk away with a plan for an online course. Potentially this could make you rich or at least add an extra avenue to your income. We'll talk a bit about why we want to do that in a second, but it's pretty obvious, hey. Okay, so it's for Business Station. My name is Bethan Winn, and we're getting started in online courses today. So let me just click through. Just before we get started, I want to do an acknowledgement of country. I grew up in Wales, so I feel very blessed to make Wajak Noongar land my home now, and where I am today. And there will be different elders, past, present, and emerging where you are as well. But we're so blessed to have the freedom to explore this land and pay our respects to our Aboriginal elders. Okay, so today what we're going to cover, we're going to firstly decide on your first course. We're going to plan out what the modules will look like. We're going to look at what a production schedule might look like. We're going to talk a little bit about interactive delivery, some marketing tips, and how you can help yourself commit to creating it. So there's quite a lot to get through, and you're going to be writing down all your answers to these. Things that I'm not going to cover today are technical requirements. If you've got questions on that, there might be some stuff I can help you with or point you in the right direction. But in terms of hardware, software, cameras, things like that, I'm not going to cover that. I'm not going to talk about pricing in detail because that's going to be so different depending on where you're at. But again, if there's a question, something simple, I might be able to support you with that. I'm not going to talk about camera and audio skills. I did do a seminar last Thursday about Zoom, and that covers a lot about, just the first section's got some stuff about how to look good on camera. Hopefully I'm delivering on that. But yeah, how to convey confidence and clarity on Zoom. So that might be useful if you are wanting to do a video course. What you shouldn't create, that's completely up to you. And then this is for people starting out with their first online course and wanting help with planning. So if you are very experienced in online courses, this might not be the webinar for you. But if you are not and you're just getting started, then you'll get a lot out of this. So if you haven't already, pop your business in the chat box, and just to put us in a nice mood. It's nice to think about something that's made us smile, maybe in the last 24 hours, something that made me smile last night at 3 o'clock in the morning. I heard someone shuffling into my bedroom who doesn't normally come in, and my 3-year-old managed to find her way into the bedroom, first time ever, and make her way around to my side of the bed to ask for a bit of extra milk. And of course there's that, oh gosh, here we go again, but also it made me chuckle because I could hear her shuffling in the dark, banging into things. So that's something that made me smile earlier. I'll just have a quick check of the chat box. It sort of pops up and disappears. So yeah, feel free to pop something in there that's made you smile. Oh, here we go. Andrea says, my granddaughter made me smile. She's so precious. I look after her on a Monday. Oh, that's gorgeous. How old is she, Andrea? Please feel free to just let us know. Mine is 3 and just turned 6. 13 months. Oh, gorgeous age. So she'll be learning to walk or maybe just toddling around, making first steps. They get very active at that age, lots of chasing. So, you know, we're all human here. although you're just a name on a screen, it's nice to kind of just get a feel of who's behind the names and let me know a little bit about you. So like I said, if you haven't already, let me know those things. I'm going to just press on through the PowerPoint and I'll pop back into the chat in a second. Okay. Thank you everyone who has participated. All right, so just quickly, I'm Bethan. I'm a critical thinking trainer. I help people with decision making, problem solving. Here's me with one of my silly examples at a workshop a couple of weeks ago, Fred and his magic pants. I've been in education at schools and university for 15 years, and then I've been doing more business and corporate training in the last year. So I know a bit about teaching and learning, and so that's the focus for today. And I've also previously created online audio and video courses in those topics. And I'm also working on creating a new online video course as well, because as we know, creating these passive income streams is fantastic, particularly if you are like myself looking after small children or trying to find some flexibility in your work. Why are we doing it now? Well, the global online education market is projected to grow 9%, 9.23%, to reach a total size of $3.19 billion US by 2025, from $187 billion last year. That's insane. And that is an enormous market that normal people like us want to tap into. We live in this age of the expert. A lot of people, and this is something I teach in critical thinking, a lot of us are nervous about making our own choices. And so it's nice to turn to someone who we feel is an expert in that area. Lots of people are time poor and they have the money to solve these problems. Whether it's, I don't know, how to look after your 13-month-old or what kind of discipline you might choose to use, or how to potty train, through to how to be a better leader or CEO, or I don't know, how to ride a bike. There's all sorts of stuff out there, and there's probably a course to match whatever your problem is you're trying to solve. And that's something that we'll refer back to a lot today, is what is the problem that we're trying to solve, or what is the transformation that we're trying to get for our clients. Obviously, being online is location proof. So if you move, or this pandemic comes back, or whatever the situation for lockdown for where you are at the moment, it's not going to be impacted by these massive changes that no one really expected this year. So it's future-proofing your income. It gives you freedom, and it can create that passive income. And also, education is changing very fast. People are realizing that a university degree is not necessarily everything to get a job, and so turning to online education, further learning, and that's one of the reasons the market is growing year on year. As universities get more and more expensive, they're having to adapt how they deliver, and then they're competing with experts like you and I who can deliver alternatives in that space and deliver great value for people. So you might say, but I'm not a teacher. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but I'm sure, there's a great speech by Tim Minchin where he says, be a teacher. Even if you're not a teacher, be a teacher. That we all have skills and we all have experiences that we can share with people to help them through. So don't worry if you don't have formal qualifications in your area, particularly like some of us were talking about patchwork, things like that. You don't need formal qualifications, and lots of particularly female entrepreneurs, we can procrastinate by going and getting further qualifications, wanting to do other stuff before we get started. We say, I'll be ready once I've done this, or I'll be ready once I've completed that. And really the best thing to do is just get started. So by being here today, you're creating your get started plan. So to start us off, some questions. Get your pen and paper out. I'd like you to write down, what do you do currently? What can you do? So right next to you can write the questions down if you like. This will be on a replay, by the way. So if you don't manage to do it all now, you can come back to it. What could you do? What should you do? I don't like that word, should. It's always stuck with the idea of what you feel like you ought to do rather than what you want to do. But what should you do? Like if what your friends say you should do, perhaps. What would you do if you were making this decision out of hope and excitement for the future? What is possible? What would you do if you had no barriers? What do you want to do? If you're not passionate about this idea for your course, then we're really stuck. You really need to want to do it. What have you done before? So even if you think you've got a fairly clear idea, it's useful to just write down some ideas of maybe more specific things as well. So for example, bookkeeping and accounting, you might say, I don't know, a course for bookkeeping for solo coaches, solo entrepreneur coaches, or bookkeeping for shops, or bookkeeping for, I don't know, pubs. There's all sorts of niche areas, and you might think, oh, that's quite a small area, but actually, because this has global reach, niche can be useful. So think about, you know, different ways you could break it down, perhaps. And what do you get asked to do? So, for example, today, although course creation isn't my core business, I have been approached by people who I know, who know that I've got a good background in education, and they trust me and know me. And that's important, know, like, and trust. You probably heard those things. If it's someone they know, like, and trust, then they will come to you and they'll say, could you help me with this? So, you know, that's why today's happened. So have a think about your questions. If you want to, you can pop something in the chat box or write it all down on your paper. Lots and lots of ideas. You can come back to this and keep adding to it as well. So this is like your master list. Okay, now I'm going to flick through because I know some of you feel like you have a fairly clear idea. What you might want to do now is to edit your list. I'm sorry if you've if I've flicked through a bit quick, but I do want to make sure we cover all the content within the hour, and there'll be some time for Q&As at the end as well. But you might want to cross off now things you hate doing. So is there a particular thing that you're asked to do that you just don't like doing? Because we don't want to be stuck doing something we don't like doing. It's got to be something you enjoy, something people will pay for. And what's the other part of the triangle? I should have popped it in. Something you enjoy, something people will pay for, and something that you're good at. Okay, so just because you're good at it and people will pay you doesn't mean that you have to enjoy it. And it doesn't mean that that should be your business. So the ideal trifecta: you're good at it, you enjoy it, and people want to pay you to do it. It might be something that you're great at and that you love doing, but if people don't pay for that kind of service, then it's not a great idea for an online course to make it profitable. I mean, it depends what your point of the course is. If it's just to meet like-minded people or to keep yourself busy, then by all means, if you enjoy it, you're good at it, go for it. But for many of us, we want to make this sustainable. And that means that you need to be paid. So if there's a particular group of people that you don't enjoy working with, or maybe things at times that don't work for you. So for example, I've been asked over the years many times to do tutoring for school children, but because I have my own young kids, that slot between sort of 3 and 6 p.m. really is not a great time for me to be out of the house, because that's when I want to be spending time with my own kids. But perhaps as they get older, those things might change, but you know, times that just don't work for whatever reason. Things that you don't want to revisit. Perhaps you've done something in the past and perhaps you were great at it, but you don't really want to go back there, and that's fine. Something that's going to cause you a lot of stress is a difficult one. Like, you don't want to create more stress in your life, and ideally we're going to create a passive income product. Or you can, in this context, I would leave things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone. So just because it scares you a little bit, if it's something that you think people would pay for, you've got the skills in, and that you enjoy, keep that on your list for now. Okay. Now, another way for us to think about and find our best, our very best course is this concept. This is by a lady called Grace Lever. So a way we can break it down to figure out our genius zone, as she calls it, is this list here, this table. So if you want to add this to your page, you can do this very quickly. And across the top, you need your idea, and then just a very thin column, your level of experience, you score yourself out of 10, your level of passion for the topic, your resources that you might already have. So if you've already got, I don't know, blog posts or maybe some videos or I don't know, notes that you've written down even, then you can pop that there, how ready you feel or how much stuff you've already got. And profitability. So, you know, I was speaking to a friend who wants to set up a pay off your debt course. And then he was also thinking about creating a pay off your mortgage course. So someone who's got credit card debt versus someone who is trying to pay off their mortgage in 5 years. Now, the people who are going to be thinking about paying off their mortgage in 5 years probably have more cash and are probably readier to spend that money than someone who's got an awful lot of credit card debt, just based on, you know, stereotyping about the type of people, because most of us aren't in a position to pay off our mortgage in 5 years, I'm guessing. If you are, lucky you. So in terms of profitability, there's a clear difference between each of those groups. So this is where it's worth thinking. You can see on here, for example, when I was doing this activity not long ago, problem solving for corporate clients, the profitability, I don't know for sure, but is likely to be higher than if I was to create critical thinking for students, because students tend to not have the same amount of cash flow. You can flip that on its head and say, well, perhaps the parents have the money to spend, but if we're targeting the actual students, then they're not likely to. So maybe university students wouldn't have as much cash available. Whereas, I don't know, high school students at, thinking of Perth and some of the fancier schools, the parents are willing to pay a lot of money for their children's education. So, you know, think about who would be paying and who you're trying to target. Just thinking back, so perhaps if you're wanting to work with small businesses on accounting, if they are new small businesses or very small micro businesses, they might not have a lot of money to spend. Whereas an established company in an area where they're not so good with their accounting, but say they have like 10 staff members, they're going to have a lot more money to spend on something like accounting and bookkeeping, because they'll need, you know, they've got more cash flow around them. So what would be awesome right now is for one of you to share what your ideas are and what scores you've given. So maybe your top scoring idea. You can pop it in the chat box. It'd be really great to get an idea of what your genius zone is. What's your course idea that's going to make you a millionaire? And if you do, let me know. If you do make your millions off the course, I would create a course on how to use my organizer. Awesome, Donna. So that's a product that you already have by the sounds of it. Oh yes, so that's your adulting life organizer. The product. Ah, this is intriguing. So you would sell the organizer and then sell a course to help people to use it. That's very clever because you've got that on sale. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, you sent that to all panelists and attendees. So you can switch that on the chat so that it goes to everyone. Everyone can see it. Thank you for sharing, Donna. So the rest of you, I assume, are busy scrolling ideas down. As I said, we do have to kind of flick through fairly quickly, but then we can share some stuff at the end. Oh, Andrew's not going to be a millionaire, apparently. You never know, Andrew. DIY for people to make people out of vegetables to show support for our virtual agriculture show. Not much money in that. Well, you never know, Andrea. Would it be a fundraiser or would it be a profit-making venture for you? So about connecting people, well, that's lovely. Yes, I think you've made a comment to that. And events manager to connect people, yes. So if that's, you know, a course to support that event and connecting people, then absolutely. I would say, unless you're being paid by an external person to do that, think about how much time and energy you're willing to put into it, because it sounds beautiful. but something that could, you know, take over your life. You could be on live Zoom from dawn till dusk helping people create these gorgeous things, but we need to find the balance with that to make it sustainable. And then Catherine's talking about my latest patchwork pattern. So the course would be how to create that, would it, based on what you've got there. And hopefully you know who your audience would be for that too, Catherine. Yeah. Gorgeous. And this is something that I talk about in critical thinking a lot, is the values piece and what's the purpose. So if the purpose is to make money, then, you know, obviously think about the profitability. But if the purpose is for your own enjoyment, and your values are connecting people, bringing people together, helping them get creative, and that is going to be payment enough, then go for it. Good for you. And I've done lots of volunteer work over the years, which, you know, it pays off in other ways. So as long as you're comfortable with the purpose, then that's going to work great. Okay, I'm going to continue on here, but I'll pop back in. Thank you all for giving some comments. All right, so we're going to score it out of 10. So now we have an idea of the topic. We need to make a plan. So think about where your clients are now. What's the issue that they're working on? Where do you want them to be? And how can you get them from A to B? What skills and knowledge do they need along the way? And how can they practice these? What kind of activities could you be using? Now, I know, without even knowing lots about you, that you will have umpteen different potential courses and so many different skills that you could share with your audience. But the absolute key to getting started is to get yourself a simple plan. So don't try and cram everything in. Some people, and myself included, have done courses where there's just too much information. It gets overwhelming, and then it leaves your clients feeling like failures. You don't want them to do that. You don't want them to switch off. You need to make it simple for them, make it accessible, make it easy to follow, and so they can quickly understand it. So if there's some difficult terminology involved, maybe leave that out and think about, right, just keep it simple. Where are they now? What pain points do they have? What's the situation for them? How are they feeling? And where do they want to be? Now, this might be tricky. If you feel like your product doesn't really solve a problem, try and think outside the box a little bit here. So I'm going back to the idea about connection. So perhaps they're feeling a bit isolated. Let's talk about virtual event. So perhaps they're feeling disappointed because they're missing out on that. They feel that they would like to contribute and support the event in some way and give some time to it. So perhaps that's something they could do. For the patchwork, where would they be? They would be wanting to do something. I've seen some really nice advertising and sales pitches around creative courses, because people might not be necessarily looking for that, but what they might be looking for is some kind of creative pursuit, a mindful activity, something that they'll enjoy, something that's away from technology, and selling it on that angle might be a way to approach it. Now, it depends who your market is, obviously, but that's some stuff that I've seen on Instagram recently. So trying to pitch to busy people about, this one particular one was about tying knots and cords to make things. But that's one approach you could use. And then for the adulting, I guess they can't do complicated patterns. I can show them how. Yes, exactly. Thread therapy. Is that what it's called? Yeah. So you know, when you're trying to pitch to busy people, either, you know, showing them how this can help them relax, because we all know we need to relax more, or how you can help them prioritize things. Perhaps for the adulting organizer, they're feeling disorganized, they're feeling messy, they're feeling out of control. Now, I'll talk a bit later on about, you know, you might not want to focus on this will save you money long term, because when we get onto money conversations, that can be a bit of a red brain thing that slows us down. And I'll explain red, green brain in a minute. So we're going to focus on what the benefits are, what's the good thing, and where's the A, where are they now, what are they crying about on the kitchen floor while they're eating ice cream, and how are you going to get them from A to B? And what does B look like? So I've just put another example from things that I've worked on in the past. So A, perhaps they're feeling confused about a big decision, they're overthinking and procrastinating, they're feeling stuck, they're feeling disempowered, perhaps in a victim mindset. So what I would include on this will be for a decision-making course. The knowledge and tools that I would bring to that are mental models, useful frameworks for decision-making, some basics of critical thinking when we evaluate arguments, and some journaling prompts. Help them to know their own values and access their gut feelings. So this is quite an in-depth course. This is a very cerebral sort of thing. The skills will be applying these to practice situations and real situations until they feel confident using them. So by the end, so my A is them all the negative things that are going on. By the end, they'll have made some big choices. They will feel confident and empowered. They'll feel in charge of their lives and tapped into their own values and gut feelings. So, you know, there's an awful lot of stuff I could cram into a course. And I've done that previously when I've made courses too big, too scary, too much information. So you just stick with exactly what they need. And if you've got other stuff that you want to share with them, save that for another course. Yeah, this is not the last course you're going to make. This is your first course. It's an experiment. You're going to just do it quick and dirty, get it out there and get the feedback. I'm just going to check the chat box. I've got someone popped in there. I've worked out the purpose of why people should join my DIY Mr. Potato Head course. Andrea has sent this. It will teach them to look at vegetables differently when buying them, and then they'll think about where they've come from and grown. An education process then begins. I love that, Andrea. That sounds fantastic. Definitely a good why. So think beyond the what are they actually doing, like you've done there, and what's the kind of deeper why behind it? Why do you want to do it, and why do you think other people will want to participate? Okay, so like I said, you can always come back if I'm skipping through too quickly, but I want to make sure we've covered everything. Okay, so what we want to aim for ideally is 5 or 6 milestones along the way. So try not to come up with 15. 5 or 6 is quite a nice number, and it's up to you the length of the course or how you want to run it. It could be, you know, that you do it live over a month, or make it a 5-day challenge, or whatever's going to be most effective for your clients to help them achieve what they need. But make sure there's a logical process. They build on each other. We call this scaffolding in education, where you give them one level of skill or knowledge, and then they practice that, and then you build on another level and another level, getting them from point A up to point B. So think about that. How can you scaffold the learning? You're not going to go straight in with the hardest thing. You're going to build up to it. Don't be afraid to leave things out. Yeah, less can be more, and we don't want to overwhelm the client. So perhaps you want to label those milestones, and we'll see when we make a plan now how they're going to feed into the planning of the course. So hopefully you've got an idea of a course. Now, this is not forever. This is just for now. You can always change it, but it's worth having a working title that you can just go with to start getting on with stuff. Because the danger is you'll leave today having made a plan, and then in 6 months' time, you've done nothing about it, which is not where we want to be. We want to have something quick and dirty, ready to go, so that we can start creating. So think about your mode of delivery. What's going to work best? Is it video, audio, face on screen, or a screencast? You might want to ask someone to film you doing it, those of you who are creating things. Make notes for each section. So what kind of things do you want to cover? So we might have 5 key modules or milestones, and within those 5 there might be 5 or 6 subheadings. So let's say we aim for, I don't know, 30 to 36 mini sections. And now you might say, I don't know, module 1, finding your vegetable for Andrea. You might want to talk about, I don't know, different places you can go, texture, color, I don't know, all different stuff, depending who your audience is. And then, so you can have each of those as like a subheading in that milestone. And you might decide that each of those is a short video, or perhaps some are videos out and about, some might be audio, some might be you delivering a webinar section like I'm doing now. So have your slide on screen and a little face. So you might not even want to appear on camera, depending how confident you feel about that. But I would say, if you're happy to, people do connect with people. So particularly if you're a small business or this is like a small project, people like to see you. I still find it strange how many more likes you get on social media, for example, when you show your face or you talk on the video. And it's just because people like seeing people. They're interested in you as the expert, and want to get to know you. So it's that know, like, and trust thing. They're creating a bond with you. So make notes for each. If you need to, you make your PowerPoint presentations. Use a whiteboard, or you might use an online whiteboard. So there's actually a whiteboard inside of Zoom. So I showed it on the webinar that I did last week. And then probably the most important thing is to block your time. Now, you might have heard of this before, but this is so useful when you want to get stuff done, because most of us have lots of different demands on our time, lots of things going on. But if you say to yourself, every Tuesday for 2 hours, I work on my online course, then you will start to get it done. If you say, I'm going to work on it for a whole week, then likelihood is other things are going to start chipping in. So if you are someone that uses your Google Calendar, for example, you could block it out in your diary and have it there and make it a non-negotiable. And that you can have your plan. I'll show you the next slide what the plan might look like, and slowly work your way through. How are we doing for time? We're okay. So this looks horribly complicated, but it's actually an Excel file. And if you'd like an editable copy that you can work with, then feel free to drop me an email after the webinar to hello@bethanwinn.com. I can send this file to you. Again, this is, borrowing from lots of different people that I've seen working on these things online, but it gives you an idea of how you might plan things out. Now, if you haven't already, feel free to move my face around the screen. You can do that, pick me up and move me around so you can get the full screen. I'm just going to shut the chat box for a second, but you can see here, production schedule, for example, and then you've got module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4, and then within each module, lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a great format for planning all your modules and titles. And then you might decide all the different delivery styles if you're going to use different delivery styles. And I would suggest having at least maybe a couple of different styles depending on what you're trying to do. So one might be face to camera, one might be whiteboard, one might be standing, sitting, all different ways you can do it. So the scene, you might want to make some notes there, like perhaps if you want to, I don't know, wear a particular thing, stand in a particular spot. It's nice to have natural light on you if you are filming on camera, though I don't have it today, really. My natural light is that direction, but it's useful to just be aware of, what looks good on camera. You could do a couple of practices. Assign, so if you're working with someone else, you might want to assign it to someone. The script, so if there is very specific things that you're going to say, which you should have at least some bullet points of what you're going to talk about, so script or talking points. Or perhaps like today, I didn't have a script, but I've got a slide pack, so I've got my PowerPoint that I'm following through, and so I'm just speaking to that, as it were. Then in the next column, when you've finished the filming or recording, whatever you're doing, you can put a yes there. Yes, 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 yes. If you need to edit it, then pop that there. Now, if you have Apple products, iMovie is great for doing simple edits, but something, what's it called? I've got OneShot, which is a free software for editing things as well, and that's quite handy. Does a lot of the basic stuff. This one, in this case, this was uploaded to Vimeo, but you might want to use YouTube or a different hosting site, or embedding things in a portal. So if you do decide to put it on your website, you might have some kind of plugins that you're using. There's lots of different softwares out there. Like I said, we're not really covering the tech stuff today, but just give you a couple of ideas. Worksheet content. So if there is a worksheet which goes with that lesson, And you probably don't want to do a worksheet for each. If you had 36 worksheets, I would say that's probably a bit overwhelming. But if you need some kind of printable thing or an editable PDF, and if you just Google editable PDF, then you can protect your content by putting it in a PDF, and then make it so that your clients can edit it online, or they can download it and there's editable boxes. Do you need to design the worksheet? So depending how fancy you want it to look, you might get a designer to format it, for example. And is the worksheet embedded, and then any notes that you have. So I would really suggest, if not exactly like this, creating something that you feel comfortable with, where you have all the different things that you need to make in terms of the planning, the look, the preparation, the delivery of it, actually filming it, putting it together, getting it uploaded. And you can see it is a lot of work. There's a lot of work there, but once you start, it starts to get easier and you get your flow going. And I'll give you some more tips on accountability to actually get it done, because the ideal outcome for this is that you've got some form of passive income. You may well, one of my coaches that I use, she creates the course, but then she also includes a Facebook group, and she'll have like a weekly Q&A check-in sort of call where she'll invite us all to be part of that, and we can ask questions live. That is probably a more time efficient way of doing it than if she was getting emails and comments from people all the time, because she can at least time block when she's going to be responding to questions and queries. And people, like I said, people like to see you, and they like the opportunity to ask questions live. And that's why I'm encouraging you today to add things into the chat box. So lots of things going on there. Like I said, if you want to get the Excel version of this, feel free to drop me an email on my email address below there. I hope that's useful for you to see, give you an idea of, the level of planning required. But if you plan it, it's going to more likely get done. If there's no plan, it's not going to happen. So find your commitment. I've got here a pizza and beer and some weights in the gym. We've all had that tussle with our conscience. Which one do we want to do? What a lot of online course gurus will suggest is to sell the course first and then fill it. This takes a lot of guts, but is highly, highly effective, because if you've got people paid, then you know that the course is of value to them, and it forces you to create it once you've got the, once you know what the deadlines are. So if you've got paying clients starting your course in 4 weeks, maybe you've got nothing right now, but in 4 weeks' time, you will definitely have something ready. You don't even need to have every single thing ready. We get stressed and perfectionism kicks in, and we think, I need every module finished. You can create it as you go, and I've done that in the past. Yeah, I know what I need to produce, but I may not have actually produced it by the time that that's ready. Another thing you might do is make a bet with someone. You might want to put some money on the line even and say, right, I bet you that I can have this course created. At least if you've got the clients ready, then you know that you're not wasting your time in the creation process, but a lot of us will feel a bit more confident with at least some of the course ready to go. So make a bet with someone. Another option is to find an accountability buddy. So like I said, you could message all panelists today and say, hey, does anybody want to be accountability buddies with me? I've just done this recently with a friend. We've said, we're both very sociable and we'll happily go for coffee with someone rather than sit down and do some solo work. So finding a buddy, someone who's trying to achieve something similar to you, is a great way of doing it. A friend in the UK was telling me recently about a writing coach who all they do essentially is they provide some frameworks and stuff, but they turn up on Zoom 4 hours a week at specific times, same every week. And while you're there, you just have your Zoom on and you sit and you write while they're there. And from a business point of view, that's genius. They don't even need to be doing anything while that's happening. It's just having that showing up. So yeah, having a buddy or having other people who are trying to achieve the same thing is really, really useful. Sign yourself a contract. So this is something I've seen a couple of online course people do, is get people to write it down in a contract. If it's written down, again, it's more likely to be achieved. You might want to set yourself a reward for if the contract is fulfilled, or share it with people. Tell your friends, tell your business buddies, whoever it may be. And again, blocking time. So you might want to pick the time that you work best and block out that time for when you want to work on this. Just last week, a friend was talking about doing a master's course, and she'd read a book called The 5 a.m. Club. And for 1 month, she got up 5 a.m. every day and worked on her master's thesis and got it done. Whereas previously, for months, she'd been procrastinating and faffing, and other things were getting in the way. So if it's something you really, really want to do, set yourself a goal, plan out when it's going to happen. Of course, it will probably take you longer than you anticipate, but if you've blocked the time, you'll be ready for that. Just going to check in here. Andrea is saying, I've sold the concept of the virtual Horsham show, but when I launched, I only had one idea, and that was to put photo challenges on Facebook daily. It's got about 5 different elements to it now. That sounds great, Andrea. Fabulous. So there's lots of different parts to this show. Love it. Thanks for sharing. Love it. Okay. So think about, for you, what's your commitment buddy, or what's your commitment thing? How do you make sure that you do the things that you find difficult? Something that I've found as well is quite good. There's some software called Freedom. So if you are working on your laptop, obviously, you know, these are distraction boxes. They can be awful for getting us to do things that we shouldn't be doing or don't want to be doing. But there's lots of other software that does this too, but different ways that you can block websites that aren't what you should be working on, particularly those distracting ones, social media, emails, whatever it may be. So you can block them out. So Freedom is the app that I like to use, but your phone will have lots of different settings for that too. So do think about using them if you know that you need to focus on that stuff. Now, I'm going to talk briefly about marketing. Marketing is not my background. I'm very much from an education background, but I've learned a lot in the last year or so that I've been doing more freelance work. So in terms of marketing the course, talk about the outcomes, how people are going to feel, what they're going to learn, what skills they're going to have, what are they going to achieve by the end. So like today, hopefully when you signed up for today, sorry, Catherine's just put, my pattern testers are my accountability buddies. That is awesome, Catherine. And the fact that you've got a little tribe around you to help you build those patterns and check them for you is absolutely fabulous. So yes, first one, outcomes. Let's focus on, what do people get? I was hung up initially on describing the learning objectives, because that's what we do in education, is talk about learning objectives, or what we're going to cover, what the topics are. But people want to know, what will I have by the end of this course? What's that going to look like? And what's that going to feel like? That emotional connection is really, really important. So hopefully, you know, by the end of today, you're going to feel much more confident and clear about how you're going to achieve this dream of creating an online course, and confident that you can do it too, because you absolutely can. Stories. I never realized the power of stories until recently, how persuasive they are, how engaging they are. And a good tip I picked up recently was, if you find yourself really engaged in a piece of content, or in an email, perhaps one that gets you to click and keep reading, make a note of that. Maybe have a, I don't know, I've got whiteboards everywhere in my room, or bits of paper stuck to the wall, but have somewhere where you keep a note of examples of good practice, and then you can adapt that to your own stories and your own content that you're putting out there. So stories are great, and we love a bit of drama. Emotional connection, and that can come from stories, people getting to know you better, people identifying with you. So for example, when I talked about my 3-year-old at the top of the call, the lady with the babysitting the 13-month-old, we have an emotional connection now. I went, oh, your grandma, you're looking after your granddaughter, that's beautiful. And I can picture that as well. So visuals and images and imagery are really, really important. Donna has popped here, to everyone, I think, stories. Yes, the story of the Adulting Life Organizer is my best marketing tool. Absolutely, absolutely. I recently changed some of my marketing to be more story based, and the engagement that it gets and the responses that it gets is so much higher. If you have a story plus a picture of you, people love it. It doesn't matter that we're not supermodels. Maybe you are, I don't know. I'm going to assume that you all are, but even if you're not that comfortable on camera, when you see the impact it can have, it can really pay off. It can really, really pay off. So images are important. Images of you, images of people enjoying the work, images of what people can create. Those are really, really useful. Testimonials. Now, you may not have testimonials. I'm thinking, Catherine, you have your testers. You could ask some of them for testimonials. Written testimonials with the names of the people who gave them next to them are really powerful, but also on camera testimonials. I had a business coach say to me, buy a bottle of champagne for anyone who is, or offer a bottle of champagne for anyone who's willing to provide you a on-camera testimonial, because it is so powerful. There's things that I find myself, I'm not looking for, I don't even think I want, but because of testimonials of how great other people think they are, you go, oh, there must be something in this. So testimonials are amazing. Visuals, like I said, but also like visual models and things are really nice, rather than lots of words. I've tried to put some nice images in this today. Persuasive language. So, you know, rather than talking about, I don't know, a webinar, then apparently webinar isn't a word that turns people off. Calling it a mastermind is something that's more appealing. It sounds more high end. So think about the words you're using to describe your product. Is it a course, or is it a, I don't know, life-changing experience? Recently referred to my workshop as a remarkable learning experience, or a memorable learning experience. Because it is, you know, people remember some things forever. So think about how you are describing it in the language that you're using. It's useful to show that you understand your client's pain points. So wherever they were, think about how they can, how you can show that you were where they were. You identify with them, you empathize with them. And you maybe have tried what you have tried. So I've seen it called as like shooting the enemy. So saying, perhaps you've tried, I don't know, thinking about Donna's organizer, because it keeps popping up in the chat box here. Perhaps you've tried, you know, a planner from Kiki K. You've stood in Officeworks and looked at all the diaries. You've had, I don't know, accountability coaches, and none of those things have worked. So then that's where Donna comes in with her organizer. She's been there, she's tried those things, they don't work. This is what works, and this is what's going to get results for you. Okay, green brain and red brain. I mentioned this briefly earlier. I'm just going to refer, because I've got it written up on my wall here. Some of the things which are green brain, these are things that make you go for it. You're in your system one, emotional response. If you think about when you make a purchase, sometimes it's a logical purchase, but very often it's an emotional purchase. It's something that you're in the moment and you go, yes, that is what I need. So right now, Andrea feels like that's what I need in the chat box here. So what are the things that get us responding emotionally and get us going for it, rather than being logical and sensible and saying, actually, this is not worth the money? So thinking about the emotional stuff. Outcomes, I've talked about. Results, so seeing the finished product or hearing stories of people's results using the course or the service. Thinking about why. You probably heard of Simon Sinek and his TED Talk, Start With Why. So if you focus on why you're doing something, not what you're doing, people engage with that much more, particularly if it's like Andrea's talking about, connecting people, things like that. That's a very emotional response thing too. The reasons why the course, why you've created the course, the reasons why people find it useful. Visuals, testimonials, stories, before and after is really powerful. I find myself with this skincare product that keeps popping up in my feed. The before and after pictures are amazing. And so although it's ludicrously expensive, I still find myself thinking, oh, it looks really good, because those before and afters are there. Oh, Andrew's saying she only heard Simon's name today at another webinar. Yes, Simon Sinek stuff, it's nice. And Start With Why has been very influential. What have I got here? Some other stuff, connection and friendship. So that's something that you might want to consider including as part of the course. Many of us are looking for our tribe, people who value the same things we do, people who are interested in the same things we are. So think about who your tribe are, how you can connect them to each other. And that's why Facebook groups are so popular. You know, you might meet people from all over the world who are really interested in the same niche or facing the same problem, and they can support each other. It doesn't have to be you responding to people in that Facebook group all the time. So stories of transformation, giving people, what have I got here? Emotive language, aesthetic things. Some things I've seen that are very clever with the more high-end online courses is that they will send you a box. So perhaps for the patchwork is something to think about. You get a box, a physical box in the post of gifts or products or workbooks. And people love getting posts. They love getting nice posts, things in the post that they're excited to receive rather than just a bill or a late birthday card. So if there's some way you could build that in, then that's a really nice thing as well. And when I do my face-to-face workshops, I have like, oh, they're underneath here. I get chocolates from Sue Lewis in Perth, who does lovely chocolates. She does me a little deal. They get a little bag, they get a little origami thing with their name on it. So ways to make it really special for them. And this is more for your high-end products, but maybe think about if there's a way that you could delight the customer, get people talking about your course, because your referrals are absolute gold to you, and you're more likely to get someone through word of mouth than you are through Facebook advertising or Instagram or whatever it may be. So think about that. How can you get people saying, wow, that was a great experience, I really enjoyed it? That's the kind of thing you want people to come out with. Okay, oh, where am I? Oh yes, we're okay. So once you've got your content, and the cup of coffee here saying begin is really, really important. But once you've begun and you've got your stuff, it gives you so much more stuff to play with that you could do lots of other things with. Perhaps you could create a one-to-one coaching program using that information. So what I've done previously is take what was a 6-week audio course and done sections with people individually for coaching, a group coaching program. So this would be combining more live stuff. You don't need to be doing stuff one-to-one with people. Like I was saying, a coach I use sometimes, she has like these group get-togethers once a week where people can ask questions. So group coaching program, a high-ticket online course. So you might want to think in terms of pricing, you know, do you want this to be a $50 offering, a $200 offering, a $1,000 offering? And depending on the scale of the problem that you're solving for people, that might help to determine your price. But also, if you give it for free, then people don't value it. If you do it for really cheap, if you do it for $20, people won't value it. So you do need to put some kind of reasonable price tag on it to get people to commit. And Andrea's beautiful idea with the Mr. Potato Head about connecting, you might say, okay, this will be a great free challenge, and it would be a beautiful free challenge to have. But putting some kind of price tag on it is more likely to get people to commit to it. They've put money behind it, so they'll put time into it. If you want to, then you could say, and what I do on my courses as well is say, if you're struggling to meet the cost of participating, please get in touch. And I always offer some scholarship places for courses, because you know, I don't want money to be a reason for someone not to do it, but I know that putting money on the line is a reason for people that want to do it. That makes sense. You could create a retreat, perhaps patchwork. We can all go hang out and make patchwork. Thank you, Andrea. That do make sense. You could have like a whole day hanging out. You could have a weekend, patchwork weekend, where all the people who've met in your Facebook group get together. You could have a bunch of short courses. So those 6 modules could be 6 shorter courses. People can pick and choose. You might have a half day or a full day workshop, or something that I've been doing is 90-minute workshops. You know, people are time poor. It's all killer, no filler, very interactive and fun. And it's a lovely way to connect with people. And again, get those referrals where it leads to further work. You could make a book via the transcripts. So there's lots of services out there where you can put your video or your audio in, and it will turn that into transcripts of the content, And then rather than starting with a blank page, if you want to make a book or a workbook, you've already got everything you need. You just have to edit it and change how it looks and put it all together, but it's a great place to start. You can have YouTube videos. I've seen recommendations that you put maybe 10% of your course content on YouTube, and then with a link for how to find more, or if you enjoyed this, come and join my course, things like that. Short videos on social media. We know social media videos, you know, if they're more than 3 minutes, lots of people don't watch them unless they really, really, really want to. So well done today if you've stuck with me throughout this. I think most of us are still here. And also blog posts. You can take just little sections, small ideas. Don't give away the farm, don't tell them everything, but give people a taster of what might be involved, because they want to build that trust with you. They want to get to know you and know what they might be covering in those courses. I think we're pretty much done. Okay, yes, so thank you. Well done. You've made it to the end. I hope you've got lots and lots of notes and lots of ideas of how you can create your first online course. A little bit about me. I'm on a mission to help as many people as possible think critically, decide confidently, and live aligned with their values. So critical thinking and decisions, you might say, what's the connection? But every decision we make is about arguments we have with ourselves. And so I've got lots of tools and frameworks to help people with those things, but also I love doing stuff like this too, but this is my on the side. I work with businesses of all sizes, schools, universities, not-for-profits, government agencies. I value love, fun, sustainable, learning, fun, sustainability, community, and equality. So I've loved hearing some of your stories today and how you're building your own communities and courses. There's all my contact details. Feel free to add me. And if you would like that template, feel free to drop me an email and I can send that to you, and the slides and questions from today as well. Thank you, Donna. Loved it. Perfect booster. Great. Any questions? I've got 7 minutes until I'm supposed to finish, but I'm happy to hang around for a little bit and answer any questions. I just needed your inspiration. Love it, Andrea. Is there a replay available, Jackie? Yes, there is. There will be. They normally have them up within 24 hours on the Business Station YouTube channel. So if you go into there, there's so much good stuff in there. It's quite overwhelming. But yeah, you can catch the beginning, me dithering for a little bit, and then once we got into it. Thank you. Yes, thanks, Jackie. That's great, Catherine. I'm so pleased to hear that you feel that you've got clarity and that you're going to get going. Perhaps you can right now in the chat box say, I'm going to create my course by, and give yourself a date. And then you've at least written it down one place. Don't worry, I'm not going to hassle you. Or you can drop it to me in an email, and then you've got a feeling of accountability. Sometimes when it's someone you know too well, you'll go, oh, I said I'd do this thing and I don't feel like doing it now. I'm going to create a meeting tomorrow night, like a course. Love it. Yes, yes, yes. Andrea, that's great. So she's going to book in a time with herself, I assume, to get on with it. I've booked in a time for my next creation session with a friend on Thursday. Like PowerPoint. Great. Yes, yes, yes. I love that, Andrea. Yeah, I hope you're feeling inspired, and do, you know, keep me up to date on how things are going. It's so funny when you do these webinars, you feel like you're just talking to yourself, but it's so nice that you've all been interacting today and giving your ideas and feedback. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Any questions? Or you can, in fact, you could pop your email addresses there if you want me to send you one, because then I can do that straight away. I'll find a post-it note. One that my daughter's not scribbled all over. Hello at Horsham Show. Lovely. Okay, and that's Andrea. Oh, awesome. Go you, Catherine. Catherine's scheduled to go live July 1st, 2021. Pre-bookings for March. Love it. If you're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, though I don't use Facebook as much for business, then feel free to add me. I want to see how you go. So we've got hello at Horsham Show. I'll have to copy these down because I think they disappear from the replay, so your comments don't appear. .com.au. Oh, lovely. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna, if you don't receive an email, perhaps it's me scribbling it down wrong. Let me see if I can just copy these comments. I got to say, guys, this is the most interactive group I've had on a webinar, and I really appreciate it. Great, lovely to see you talking with each other as well. I'm just gonna stop the screen share a second, so I can jot down these email addresses somewhere that I can keep. So again, feel free to chuck in any questions or comments. I love the support for each other as well. So I've got an email for Andrea and Catherine. Yeah, I think I've got everyone. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Fabulous. So like I said, the replay should be available. Oh, where have you all gone? There we go. And if you need to get off now, feel free to. It's been lovely to share this with you. I've just jotted down your label. Yeah, feel free to note each other's email addresses, contact details. In fact, maybe I'll do you a group email and then you've got each other's as well if you're comfortable to do that. Is there a replay? I think I've answered everything. Many areas of my events management life. Yeah. Well, this is the tricky thing. You say, that sounds fabulous. You could do that for everyone. But the trick to get started is to concentrate on doing it for one group for now, and then you can always add to it in future. Okay, all right, I'm gonna get going. Again, feel free to get in touch, let me know how you're going, add me on all the socials and say hi. I'd love to hear when you've connected people, made your $1 million or whatever it's gonna be. All right, thank you for today, well done. Take care, bye.